Welcome to Small Business 21st Century. I'm your host, Don Moragne, and this is another session of the Wealth Zone University. How are you? Missed you. Glad we're all back together again. Today, I want to take time to do another straight talk, if you don't mind. And the straight talk today is going to be about business, as always, but it's going to be particularly about the most important component of any business, and that's the leader. That's you, and that's me. Everything else that happens in business is dependent upon what we do and don't do. And there are a couple of sayings that I'd like to throw out immediately that I think kind of speak directly to the responsibility of the leader in a business to make sure that things are going well. One of the phrases that I like the most is called the 10 most impactful words ever is, if it is to be, it is up to me. And for a leader, that's kind of closes and capsulizes it in one great sentence. If it is to be, it is up to me. Another thing I like is Truman, back in the 1940s, said the buck stops here. As a leader, it doesn't matter whether it's bad or whether it's good. You're the one who's responsible for making the decision. Now, let me digress 1 second. Not making a decision is the same thing as making a decision. There are consequences for making a decision. There are consequences for not making a decision. That's the job of the leader, okay? And the last one is leaders are made, not born. And why is that? Because leadership is learned. Leadership is adapted. And we're going to actually begin to spread out in that discussion over the next few minutes so that we can really get a feel for what leadership is. We're going to put up a slide, the leadership in the business life cycle. And in that slide, I'd like you to grab your camera, take a picture, because it's really important that we try and put leadership in a sentence that will stay in your mind. And I like to say leadership is the character to lead rather than to direct, to guide rather than to control. And what that means is, as a leader, you're not supposed to do the work anymore. You're not supposed to do all of the work anymore. You're supposed to be able to delegate and get the organization running and doing and functioning as it should be as a going concern. So it's really important that you be able to direct how things get done. And as a leader also, it's very important that you make sure that things are being done correctly. So you need to be able to guide folks. And that's what the part about being able to guide rather than control. As a leader, you are mostly hands off. You are not the person doing the job any longer. So you have to be able to direct folks to let them know exactly how things are supposed to be done and hold them accountable. So leadership is extremely important in that vein, and I want us to begin to talk about that so that we understand that as business owners, potential business owners, have an idea that's going to eventually make you a business owner, and also for seasoned business owners, it's important that we understand leadership. And so let me talk about seasoned business owners for a minute. My company is called the Success Zone, and that company does financial management for medium-sized companies and does chief financial officers for larger companies, mostly government contractors. And when we walk into a company, we evaluate where that company is, both financially and operationally, and from a leadership perspective, because as far as we're concerned, all of those things relate to money and how it works. In most companies, when we walk in, the leader is at a level where they're functioning well, but they aren't yet to the point where they are totally out of working in the business. And one of the things that we try and do with the leaders that we encounter is stop them from working in the business so they have time and the vantage point to work on the business. And the CEOs that you've met in the various segments of the Wealth Zone University are successful because they mastered that ability to stop working in the business and working on the business. And so we're going to kind of bring you to the point where you understand how that's done, why that's done, and why that's so important for you to progress. Now, it's really, really important that you understand that when you start a business, you are not going to be in a position where you're going to not work every day in the business. It's just not practical. When you become a business owner, it's you wear many hats. Those hats all have to be accomplished. And until you start bringing in staff, which leverage your time, and you start bringing in echelons of management, which leverage your ability to work, it's going to be really important that you understand that you are a business owner, but you're still a leader. You're still a leader. There are business owners who are small business owner leaders. There are business owners in medium-sized businesses who are leaders, and there are business owners in large businesses who are leaders. The latter normally is so large that it doesn't allow you to be a business owner, but depending upon your abilities and your characteristics and how you are operating the business that you own, it depends on what level of leadership you are. So I just mentioned two things: characteristics and abilities of a leader. And I want to talk about that for just a second, because it's really important. As I said, leaders are made, not born. You have to have certain traits in order to be a potential good leader. But it's the characteristics that you develop that make you a good leader. And then you add the experience in management, exposure to your business industry, and exposure to the economy and business overall. And then you've got somebody who's a business executive. And we're going to get to that in the second segment. But it's really important that as we think about leadership, in the slide leadership in the business life cycle, you see we have the word character, which are personal qualities that are learned or adapted. And so qualities are outgoing personality. Qualities are ability to interact with people. Those are qualities that are basically learned. Traits are personal features that are innate, inherited, or natural. And so I see those things like integrity. Integrity, I think, is a trait. You can't learn integrity. Either you have it or you don't have it. And so those are things of straightforwardness, ability to be always honest. All those things are natural traits that are leadership traits, but they are traits because they are inborn. They're not characteristics. Characteristics are things like the ability to persuade folks to do things for you, ability to negotiate, all of those kinds of situations. And we're going to talk about both of those: negotiation, persuasion, and most people's least favorite word, manipulation, in a while, okay? So let me say this. As a leader, it's really important that you develop your skills and understand as you move into the leadership responsibility that you have to develop yourself and your skills in order to be that effective leader. Now remember, it's really, really important to understand that if you start the business, it's your idea, it's your baby, it's your future. You want to be the one who makes sure that it always goes your way. As you leverage yourself and your time by bringing in staff and employees, it's your responsibility, one, to transfer your dream and your wishes and your business to the staff so they appreciate what's going on. Two, train them or make sure they're trained so that they know what their responsibilities are. And three, hold them accountable for bringing the outcomes that are desired and required so that the company can continue to grow. You, as a leader, as your company gets larger and larger, you can't do everything. You don't want to do everything. And so you have to develop the characteristics and ability to persuade other people to do things. And that's where we talked about being able to guide rather than control. Okay? Really important. And so developing you as a leader is the most important thing that you can do. So how do you do that? Well, we're going to talk about that in a couple of seconds, but mostly it's you interacting with other folks who are leaders, making sure that you listen to them, make sure that you're getting good advice from them, emulating them. My leadership skills came from emulating folks that I admired who entered my life and who saw something in me. And then my reading and my exposure and my research helped me to adapt a persona where I could lead hundreds of people. When I was a top level manager in the government, I had thousands of people under me who were responsible. I was managing maybe 4 or 5 managers, but our span of control was very, very large. And so that's the most important thing that we can get across. Next segment, we're going to kind of bring the leadership and put it in with the business life cycle, which we talked about before. We believe that you need to be at a certain point at each phase of the business life cycle. Number one, your company should be at a certain point in each phase of the business life cycle. Number two, and the leaders. And we're going to give names to the leaders in the second segment, need to be at a certain point in the business life cycle in order for the business to continue to grow, to get to the next level, and to remain a going concern. So right now, say it with me. If it is to be, it is up to me. I'll see you back in a couple of seconds. Talk with you in a minute. Hi, everyone. The objective of the Wealth Zone University is to change your mind about money to change your financial future. Hi, I'm your host, Don Moragne. In the Wealth Zone University, my guests and I talk about a wide variety of business, financial, and other worldly topics. We are seeking to both educate and entertain you. We emphasize that the informations and discussions are my opinion, perspectives, and ideas, and those of our guests. We in no way intend to deliver or provide financial, tax, or business advice. You should consult with your tax, accounting, financial, insurance, and legal advisors regarding the impact, application, or pertinence of any topic or opinion that we share on the Wealth Zone University. Thank you for being a part of our audience, and please continue to communicate with us through email and Twitter because this is your show. Leaders, welcome back. This segment, we're going to kind of delve into titles and relate those titles to the business life cycle, which I think is extremely important so that you can get a feel for what level of leadership you should be trying to attain in what phase of your business so that you can continue to grow. So let's talk about that. Leaders in the business, what titles do we have? Well, mostly the first title that most folks have is the business owner. The owner is the person who normally had the idea, who found it, who put the organization together and is growing it and probably call themselves the owner until something significant happens, like they start bringing in other employees and start leveraging themselves. The business owner is probably associated more with solo practitioners and small businesses. But remember that regardless of what size your business is, if you started it, you're the owner of the small business, you're the owner of the medium-sized business, you're the owner of the large-sized business. You just have different responsibilities as you move through that segment, okay? That's business owner. I see a lot of cards and business cards that have the word president and general manager on them. And the president and the general manager are management terms that connote that you are the most important management official in your business. They're valid terms. The word president can be confusing because you can be a president on the operational side, and if you have a board of directors, you can also be president of the board of directors on the operational side. You are president, that makes you the top manager. On the board side, that makes you the top official on the governance side. And it's the president and chairperson are terms that are used on the governance side. And you see that a lot in not-for-profit organizations where the board is the governance and the operational side is responsible for making sure that compliance is met, but the board side is responsible for making sure that the fiduciary side is met. And so the president is the top management. Then we get into the suites. Everybody has seen the C-suite. That's called the C-suite because everybody in there has the title chief. Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Intellectual Officer, Chief Technology Officer. That's what the suite stands for. Now, technically, they're no longer managers, they're executives. The C-suite is the top management level where the executives are responsible for the going concern. You'll also see titles like the V-suite and the D-suite. Those are just management titles where they are taking the president and vice president and the directors and giving them some kind of clout. But actually, everybody below the C-suite is in management, and everybody in the C-suite is an executive. And again, another example. When we go into a company as a financial management service, we are on the company's management team. We are not part of the executive. When we go into a company as a chief financial officer, the CFO, we are part of the executive team. And the difference between the two is dependent upon where that company is in size, growth, and objective as to whether or not it still has a management team or whether or not it's progressed to having an executive team that oversees the management team, okay? And so we have the C-suite, which is where the buck stops. We have the management and top management, which is where the management decisions are made. And then we have the business owner, who could be owner of any aspect of the business from large or small. When do you move from business owner to management to executive? That's where I want to talk. And we're putting up a slide called the phases of the business life cycle. And you've seen this slide before because we have a session that talked about the business life cycle. And so let's refresh. Every business goes through, or should be going through, defined segments of growth and exposure. And I relate it to us going through school, elementary school, middle school, high school, and college, because we all have to go through those levels of growth and progression. And so let's take the business life cycle and compare it to our going through the educational process. The first life cycle is called startup, and I equate that to being in elementary school. The second is growing, and I can equate that to being in middle school. The established is high school, and the mature is college. And so when you start your business, you're a business owner. And so at that first level, the startup level, that's what you're responsible for. And the business owner, as we're going to talk about in a minute or so, has a lot of responsibilities because they wear a lot of hats. Everything is on that individual to make sure that they're moving forward. And that's where you should be doing two things. One, developing a business model so that you have a structure in which to work and grow your business, and then surrounding yourself with people who know what you don't know and are good advisors, okay? In the second level, when you get to the growing level, it's really important that you begin to understand that you are now a manager, because at the second growing level, you begin to leverage your time by bringing on staff and begin to plan more and more aggressively so that you can move your company to the next level. And so at that level, the growing level, you are a manager. And that manager could be a president, it could be anything that you wanted to be, a principal, a manager, a general manager. The established phase, which is the third phase, is high school. When you get to high school, you are really, really in the business game. As you can see, you have a going concern from the definition. And going concern means that your company can operate for an extended period of time, normally a year or more, without any threat to its existence. And at that level, you're normally moving very closely to becoming a member of the C-suite. You may be top management at that point, but you're moving very closely becoming the C-suite. When you become a mature business, that's when you absolutely must be part of the C-suite. That's when you have managers underneath you and you are the executive that is running that organization. And that's, you're in college, your company's in college. Whether it takes 1 year or 2 years to get to each different stage depends upon a lot of facts and circumstances, but during that entire time, you have to be honing your leadership skills. You must be developing your leadership skills so you can become an executive. Becoming an executive requires a load of experience. Becoming an executive requires a load of insight. And becoming an executive requires you to be the face and the voice of your business in the business community and the civic community and all the communities that are related to your business. So it's extremely important. And so when we go into a company, we are looking to take the leader wherever they are and begin to move them to the executive level, to make them a CEO. And that's the most important thing that we can do for that business, because as a CFO, my job is to actually guide the CEO and help that CEO to then move the company to the next level, wherever that may be. It's almost impossible to move someone to another level if they haven't attained the initial level. And so it's really, really important that you understand that being a leader is what you absolutely must be, but you also should be aware that you have to move through the first level stages, which is the business owner, to the management stages, which are the ones who actually run the company, and your goal is to be in the executive suite, the C-suite, so that you can run your company as a going concern. Very important. So let's just say for two reasons. Two things I'd like to say about business owners. I see cards where folks say that they're president and CEO. Folks, your credibility is on the line when your business cards or your indicia say something that's contradictory. You can't be president, CEO. President is the top management level. CEO is an executive. Make sure that when you start naming yourself or titling your management, that it makes sense, that you understand what each one of these levels does, what their responsibilities are, what the different titles may be, and how important it is for you to pick the right title and to display the right title, because everyone else that you're interacting with, hopefully they know the difference between those titles. And when you tell me that you're president and CEO, it just connotes to me that you're really not versed in the titles and the responsibilities of leadership. It's important that you remember two things. If it is to be, it is up to me. The buck stops here. You and me. Leadership is the most important thing that we can learn, and it is learned. Leaders are made, not born. We will see you in the next segment of the Wealth Zone University. If you want, we've got a free ebook called Leadership, Innate and learned. And we'll send you that free ebook if you just send us an email to wzu@inthezoneonline.com. We will gladly send that information out to you and be able to discuss it, and hopefully it will enhance your ability to become a leader up the ladder. Okay? Talk with you soon. Thank you for always being with us. We'll see you next session.